r/Askreddit. Guys of Reddit, what is your most embarrassing boner story? I was 13. Being checked out for growth problems by a female doctor. She had me lay on the table while in a hospital gown. She was oldish, salt and pepper hair, large glasses. She started by listening to my breathing and examining my top half. As I felt her working her way down, I got the most awkward boner and apologized. She assured me it was totally normal for my age and that I shouldn't be embarrassed. She waited a few minutes for things to calm down. She went under the gown to examine my testicle size. She lightly touched my bag and I came on her hand. She also said it's normal and I shouldn't be embarrassed, but I straight up just wanted to die. From that point on, I masturbated before any more appointments. When I was a freshman in high school, I had on Adidas windbreakers and had a boner. Unfortunately, my name was called next to go up in front of the class for my presentation. So real quickly I tried the old tuck the boner up under your boxers/pants waistline seam so it's not making a tent. While I was giving the presentation, I used a hand movement to show something up high, which lifted my shirt up enough where my penis head was showing like a turtle head sticking out of a shell. The collective gasp/laughs of the room was all I needed to know that most of the class just saw my dick head. I was on the swim team in middle school. The team was co-ed, and during practice I was standing above my crush on the diving block while she was in the pool. We were chatting a bit. She had just finished her laps, and I was about to dive in. I guess her swimsuit had gotten tight as she swam, so she went to pull out the top of her suit in order to loosen it. From my perspective above her, I essentially got a quick glance of her entire chest. At 13 years old, this would have been great, except she certainly noticed that I noticed. I want to believe that I was coy, but I really doubt it. To make matters worse, I was wearing a tight bathing suit myself. We probably just stared at each other for the longest 5 seconds of my life, before I heard the coach call for me to dive in the pool and finish my laps. Needless to say, I had a bit of extra drag for my 100m freestyle. The worst part, I was definitely supposed to switch to the backstroke after the first 50 yards. But my crush was still in the lane, and I kinda made an executive decision not to flip over directly in front of her. I was embarrassed enough with a rudder. I definitely didn't need, generous metaphor, a sail. Happened on my first official date. We're about to get up from our table at the restaurant and old Johnny decides to come out of nowhere. Told her I had to reply to an important work email, even though I was 15 and she knew I didn't have a job, nor was I in the process of applying to one. Not a guy, but in grade 7 there was a guy who was supposed to do his presentation before me. He was sitting beside me in class and noticed that he had a very prominent boner, wearing basketball shorts. I offered to go first to give him a moment to sort himself out. The teacher made a big deal about having to follow the order listed on the board, so the guy got up, trying very unsuccessfully to hide his boner. The teacher's face dropped when he realized what was going on, but it was too late. The poor guy got through his presentation, but the jokes followed him around for years. I was like 13. My grandma has recently died and my entire family had to go to the funeral. My pants were really tight and you could see like everything. So during the service, this good-looking woman sat right in front of me. So when I started to feel the movement of my penis, I got a little scared. Then, out of nowhere, the fucking funeral conductor asks everyone to stand up. But since I had a raging boner, I decided to stick my ass to the seat. Now my grandma in heaven knows that I care about my dick more than her. Whilst I've had my fair share of embarrassing boners, the worst boner debacle I've ever seen happened to a kid from my school on the bus. Basically, he and his friend were standing on a cramped bus, and then the bus jolted and the kid's erect penis slammed hard into his friend's behind, and right at that moment the boner boy let out an accidental suggestive moan. The pandemonium that followed was majestic. The friend shouted that this guy had a boner and all the kids from my school began to chant boner. He had the most mortified expression on his face. It was funny AF though. I just started dating this girl. We were super compatible in so many different ways. When the time came to finally do the deed, I could not even get an ounce of blood flow to my little buddy. Bless her heart, she tried and I pushed rope a couple times, but never got remotely close to hard. She is probably the most attractive woman I've ever been with, and I think my brain was too focused on performing, the nerves got the best of me. We ended up giving up and talking about everything laying in bed together. She started talking about one of her friends that committed suicide when she was younger, and out of nowhere I got rock hard. I attribute it to me starting to feel comfortable around her and still being horny as shit. I waited until she finished her story, said a few words, and then pulled her on top and let her ride to completion. To this day she still jokes about having to whisper sweet suicidal nothings in my ear to get me in the mood. Camera passed me in class while I had a random boner in HS. Guess who was on the school news intro rocking a boner every morning for months? High school junior, I took swimming class as my gym class for that year. Without objectifying too hard, all the girls in the class were mega hot and I was a teenage male. I was particularly fond of this one girl that we will call Alexis. Teacher decides to separate us into 3-person teams and have race, where the teacher decides to call out the stroke she wants you to use as you jump in the water off of the diving block. And wouldn't you know it, I got teamed with Alexis. She went first, and as we were lined up, as much as I want to say I was a gentleman, I was just fixated on her ass. Right before she dove in, she turned back and said, "Try to keep you," tossed me a wink. That was all it took. Bathing suit rager inbound. That wasn't going away anytime soon. It was my turn on the block next. As I dove in, I heard the teacher yell backstroke. I hit the water and thought that there is no way I am swimming on my back looking like a submarine with the periscope up. I swam freestyle and figured I would play it off like I didn't hear the teacher. The entire lap I only thought about my burning lungs and Sally Jesse Raphael, unattractive morning talk show host, to get it to go away. Even faking a leg cramp to delay getting out of the pool. Bullet dodged, but man, that was a close call. Had to do the ol' waistband tuck right before walking out on stage for the first time as a 12-year-old in the middle school production of Anne of Green Gables. I had a huge crush on this chick beside me in high school my freshman year. Out of nowhere I popped a boner, and wouldn't you know it, my teacher said, "Okay, I just finished grading your test and I am going to call you up one by one to see your test scores." And I'll be damned, I was the second. Thankfully I was in the first row, but I still had a rock hard dick. So as I got up, I acted like there was something on my shoe I was trying to get off, and made to her desk. I then leaned on her desk and said, "Oh, okay." Then as I walked back, I acted like there was still something on my shoe and then sat down. Walked to kitchen and Dad was in there, had a boner, he saw it and told me to go back upstairs. In high school I used to wear spandex track shorts under my pants when I would go to dances. 100% confidence to grind hard with a boner and none of the awkwardness. But after one dance I went to a party and was making out with a girl and she started to unbutton my pants. I was like, hold on just a minute, because I forgot that I had that spandex on. Went to the bathroom and took them off, and when I got back she was in a different room making out with some other guy. I was comforting my friend, who I find very attractive, after she broke up with her boyfriend. It was late at night and we were just sitting in her room talking. At one point she lays down and puts her head in my lap. Important, I was wearing sweatpants. We continue talking and things get a little more personal. The boner coaster starts up and I can actually see her head get lifted up a bit by the growth of my trouser snake. Then she gets up and sits in her chair across from me. She didn't say anything about it, but I'm like 80% sure she noticed. Edit, I texted her a couple hours ago. She knew, guys. She knew. I was in the 14 to 16 range. Helpless in the face of random boners. I am sitting downstairs waiting for my grandparents to come pick me up for the rodeo. I am wearing loose shorts. I feel the beginning of a full-on raging boner. Knock knock. Jesus Christ. I'm done for. My parents open the door and give me the "it's time to go" look. So there are my parents and grandparents looking at me expectantly. No time to upchuck. I need to get to the bathroom to hide this. Alas, the bathroom is on the other side of where everyone is standing. I get up, do the awkward, hunched over side waddle. My grandma opens her arms for a hug. Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. I think to myself. I go in for the hug with my ass jutted out as much as possible. To no avail, it grazes her. I see her eyes widen. She stammers and I quickly excuse myself to the bathroom, afraid I would be the first person to die of shame. Decent day at the rodeo after that. I was 11, on the bus. Sitting behind two moderately attractive girls, my friend next to me notices the hormonal expression in my pants. He is in disbelief that as an 11-year-old, it is that large. He shouts that's not real, before whacking it like a game of whack-a-mole. To his surprise, it is real. My other male friends applaud me for my bodily advantage. 10th grade physical education class. I don't know if every school did this, but we had something called line dancing, where a lot of PE classes would join together in the gym and we would have to do line dancing, country dancing basically. You dance with a girl for like half a minute then move on to the next. Well, we had an intermission of sorts, and my friend told me in unrelated news that a girl I really liked might like me too, because he heard through the grapevine. I was pretty pumped. We got back to line dancing and my mind started to wander and start thinking about the girl. After a little while, I think a tent started to pitch down below. I got to one partner, this really fucking annoying girl, who wasn't hot and wasn't popular but she was really loud. All of a sudden she screamed, "Oh my god, do you have a boner?" Imagine the scene. There is probably a good 70 to 80 kids in the gymnasium, we are dancing, and this girl screams this out. A lot of people start laughing and I say the only thing I could, no. You do. She goes on to say, "Is it because I touched your hand? Are you in love with me?" I had no dignity left at that point and no defense, so I just noped out of there and walked out of the gym. The teacher came behind me and made it worse by saying it's perfectly normal at our age yada yada yada. It's just one of those things where I was completely fucked and had no outs. That story circulated our grade for the entire day. Stupid daydream boner. One day during a bath, I decided to send a random boner pic to my pregnant wife. Unfortunately, in my masturbatory haze, I accidentally sent the pic to a list of people on my phone designated for soon-to-come baby pictures. While frantically trying to find the button on my phone that reverses time and space, my dad replies, "I see you're ready to make us some more grandkids." Fuck my life. Used good old tuck technique to hide boner. Went to front of class to do presentation. Adjusted trousers, and the rock broke free. Finished quickly and sat down relieved, only for the girl next to me tell me that it was really obvious. This happened on Friday, shoot me now, crying face. I would tell you but it's too long. One of the few times I have a relevant anecdote but this will likely be buried. Allow me to set the scene. I was in the army and standing in our 6:30 Pacific time formation at about 6:15 a.m. Obviously this formation is usually attended mere moments after rolling out of our beds. As it was spring/summer our uniform was shorts and tees. On this particular morning I had been up the entire night before enjoying steamy phone sexy times with a girlfriend back home. Unfortunately for me I was in the first squad and due to my rank I was smack dab in front of my platoon sergeant. Apparently the little lion was standing at full mast and had caught my PLTSGT sigh. Even more unfortunate for me was the female soldiers on my left and right. PLTSGT asks why I'm standing at attention. I was in the rest position, and advised him. He suggested I inform my staff, with a look towards my crotch that incited the entire first rank to check out my fully erect junk. The females on either side of me feigned revulsion but amusement. And I was asked if I would be instructing privates on how to erect their tents going forward. That was not a great day. So I had a female friend of mine that was interested in having a threesome with another friend, male, and myself. So I set it up. I had known her for years, and we had casual sex on and off, the entire time when we were both single. I could not get an erection. The entire time, about an hour or so, that we attempted to sex this woman up, it was to no avail on my part. He did just fine and so did she, but eventually I just had to give up. I sat in the chair cursing my penis to the depths of hell when I decided to just leave them, and go home. I had to get gas on the way home. I stopped at the gas station and was looking at the drink area trying to figure out what I wanted to get. I realized something was up, looked down, and recognized my boner. I grabbed it, and said, much louder than I should have, "Where the fuck have you been all goddamn night?" Talking to myself and still a bit embarrassed from my earlier failure, I failed to see the attendant looking at me. An older lady, she was not amused. I lowered my eyes and vacated the gas station as quickly as possible. I have never returned. I was a sophomore in high school. One day we had to take a world-class customer service course for a class that saw us going to a job site for an internship for half the day. We were in the auditorium. We had to arrive an hour early to school, and I had stayed up too late playing Destiny. I was seated in the front row, and began dozing off. I must have had a very nice dream, though I don't recall any details. I awoke to my name being called, and looked up to see the instructor right in front of me. He asked me to stand up and do a demonstration for whatever he was talking about. I politely refused, trying to hint to him that I could not stand as I was pitching a tent so furiously. He insisted, and eventually I just stood up and owned it. I let the raging boner stick straight out, no waistband. I turned to face the entire auditorium and stared at the instructor intensely, furious that he would not relent. He quickly became embarrassed and allowed me to return to my seat. I heard about that one for the rest of the year. It did get me laid though, so that was nice. I was swimming in a pool with some friends, one of whom I had a crush on. I usually have a GoPro with me to document possible shenanigans. All of them decided it would be fun to try to get the GoPro from me, so naturally I hide it in the pocket of my swim trunks. Now, I've had a boner the entire time this is happening, so putting it in my pocket wasn't the best idea. My crush found out where the camera was and reached into my pocket. She did not grab the camera. I pulled myself away and hoped she couldn't tell the difference between a penis and a GoPro.